When HOA Karen chained her bright pink golf cart to my fence for a 2-day occupation, to stop my farming, she thought she'd won our property war. But her dramatic protest ended with me firing up my massive harvester and giving her 30 minutes to escape before I plowed right through. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. The sound of metal scraping against my fence woke me at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I stumbled to my bedroom window and saw Karen Peterson dragging a heavy chain around my property line, attaching her bright pink golf cart to my fence posts like she was securing a boat to a dock. I threw on clothes and marched outside. "Karen, what the hell are you doing to my fence?" She looked up from her handiwork with a satisfied smirk. "I'm preventing you from expanding your disgusting farm operation onto community property. That's my fence on my property line. You can't chain things to it. This fence is 6 inches over the property line. I had it surveyed." She waved a crumpled paper at me. "Your illegal fence is encroaching on HOA common area, so I'm reclaiming it." I grabbed the survey from her hands. It was 3 years old and showed measurements that didn't match the actual fence location. But Karen had used it to justify chaining her golf cart to 4 different fence posts along a 100-foot stretch. "Karen, this survey is outdated and wrong. The fence has been here for 20 years. I don't care how long your illegal fence has been stealing community land. I'm protecting HOA property rights." She climbed into her golf cart, which was now permanently attached to my fence by thick chains and heavy-duty padlocks. "I'll be monitoring this area to ensure you don't engage in any unauthorized agricultural activities." I stared at the bizarre scene. Karen had essentially created a mobile command post chained to my fence, complete with an umbrella, cooler, and lawn chair mounted on the back of her golf cart. This whole mess started 6 months ago when I bought the old Henderson farm on the edge of our suburban neighborhood. The property was zoned agricultural, and I'd been slowly restoring it with vegetables, fruit trees, and a small greenhouse. Karen, president of the Meadowbrook HOA, decided that agriculture was incompatible with suburban living. She'd been filing complaints, demanding inspections, and trying to force me to abandon farming through bureaucratic harassment. Now she'd escalated to physical occupation of my fence line. I called my property lawyer, Janet Rodriguez, and explained the situation. "Janet, my HOA president has chained her golf cart to my fence and refuses to move it." "Tom, that sounds like trespassing and vandalism. Have you called the police?" "I want to understand my legal options first." "She claims my fence is on HOA property. Send me photos of everything, the chains, the survey, the fence location. I'll research the actual property boundaries." I spent an hour photographing Karen's golf cart fortress. She brought supplies for an extended occupation: bottled water, snacks, a portable phone charger, and binoculars to monitor my farming activities. Neighbors started gathering to watch the spectacle. Karen waved at them from her chained golf cart like she was leading a parade. "I'm protecting your property values," she called out. "This farm operation threatens our entire community." Mrs. Chin, my elderly neighbor, shook her head in disgust. "Karen, you're the one threatening the community. Tom grows beautiful vegetables and shares them with everyone. Those vegetables attract pests and rodents that spread disease," Karen declared from her mobile command post. "The only pest around here is you," muttered teenage neighbor Jake Morrison. By afternoon, Karen had been chained to my fence for 8 hours. She'd eaten lunch in her golf cart, taken phone calls, and even had her husband deliver a portable camping toilet. This wasn't a simple protest. It was a full-scale occupation. Janet called with legal research. "Tom, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that property line disputes can take months to resolve. The good news is that Karen's actions constitute criminal trespassing and vandalism." "What about her survey claiming the fence is over the line?" I checked county records. "The official survey from last year shows your fence is 18 inches inside your property line. Karen's survey is wrong and legally meaningless." "So she's trespassing?" "Absolutely. And chaining property to someone else's fence is vandalism. You can have her arrested." But I had a better idea. Sunday morning, Karen was still chained to my fence. She'd spent the night in her golf cart, determined to maintain her occupation. Neighbors were posting photos on social media, turning her protest into neighborhood entertainment. I started my old John Deere harvester and drove it slowly toward the fence line where Karen's golf cart was chained. The massive machine rumbled and clanked as I approached her position. Karen's eyes widened as the harvester got closer. "What are you doing?" "Stay away from my golf cart." I stopped the harvester about 10 feet from her position and climbed down with a megaphone I'd borrowed from my friend's coaching supplies. "Attention trespasser. I announced through the megaphone. You have 30 minutes to remove your vehicle from my property before I begin harvesting this field. You can't harvest here. I'm protecting this land. Ma'am, this is private agricultural property. I have every right to work my fields. Karen realized her predicament. She was chained to a fence in the middle of a field that I was about to harvest. Her golf cart couldn't escape without her unlocking the chains. You're threatening me? I'll call the police. Please do. I'll explain how you trespassed on my property and vandalized my fence. Karen frantically called 911 while neighbors gathered to watch the showdown. She was screaming into her phone about agricultural terrorism and assault with farm equipment. Officer Williams arrived and assessed the situation. A woman chained to someone else's fence, blocking agricultural operations on private property. Ma'am, why are you chained to this fence? I'm protecting HOA property from illegal farming activities. Officer Williams examined the chains and padlocks. Ma'am, did you attach these chains without the property owner's permission? The fence is on HOA land. According to county records, this fence is entirely on Mr. Davidson's property. You're trespassing and you've damaged his fence with unauthorized attachments. Karen's confident expression crumbled. But my survey shows. Your survey is outdated and incorrect. The official boundary markers show you're clearly on private property. Officer Williams gave Karen a choice: unlock the chains and leave immediately, or face arrest for trespassing and vandalism. Karen reluctantly unlocked her chains, muttering about property rights and legal action. But as she tried to drive away, her golf cart wouldn't start. The battery had died during her 2-day occupation. Officer, I need assistance. My cart is disabled. Officer Williams shook his head. Ma'am, that's not a police matter. You'll need to call a tow truck or push it off the property. Karen's husband arrived with jumper cables, but the golf cart's battery was completely dead. They'd need to push the bright pink cart off my property while neighbors watched and took photos. The humiliation was complete. Karen's dramatic occupation had ended with her husband pushing her golf cart down the street like a broken-down car. But I wasn't finished. Monday morning, I filed formal charges against Karen for trespassing and vandalism. The chains had scratched my fence posts and left permanent marks where she'd attached the padlocks. I also filed a complaint with the HOA board about Karen's abuse of her presidential authority. Using HOA resources to harass individual property owners violated her fiduciary duties. The HOA board meeting was packed with neighbors who'd witnessed Karen's golf cart occupation. Photos and videos of her 2-day protest had gone viral on neighborhood social media. Karen's behavior was embarrassing to our entire community, declared board member Susan Martinez. She made us look like crazy people. I was protecting property values, Karen insisted. Agricultural activities threaten residential communities. You chained yourself to someone else's fence for 2 days, replied Treasurer Mike Johnson. That's not protecting anything. That's harassment. The board voted 4-1 to remove Karen as president, with only Karen voting against her own removal. Her replacement, retired teacher Linda Hayes, immediately apologized for Karen's behavior. The HOA exists to maintain community standards, not to wage war against legal agricultural activities, Linda announced. Karen's legal troubles multiplied. The trespassing charges carried fines up to $2,000, and the vandalism charges could result in restitution for fence repairs. But the most expensive consequence was her homeowner's insurance. After reviewing photos of her chaining property to someone else's fence, her insurance company canceled her policy for intentional property damage. Finding new insurance after a vandalism cancellation cost Karen an additional $3,000 per year. 6 months later, I was harvesting tomatoes when I noticed a for sale sign in Karen's yard. Her husband had apparently decided that life was easier without an HOA president wife who declared war on neighbors over property lines. The new owners, a young couple with a baby, introduced themselves by bringing homemade cookies and asking about my vegetable garden. We love that you're farming here, the wife said. It's so peaceful and beautiful. Would you like some fresh tomatoes? I always grow more than I can eat. That would be wonderful. Karen told the real estate agent that your farm was a nuisance, but we think it's the best feature of the neighborhood. I loaded them up with tomatoes, peppers, and herbs from my garden. They were exactly the kind of neighbors who appreciated agricultural life instead of fighting it. That evening, I drove my harvester along the fence line where Karen had chained her golf cart. The scratches in the fence posts had become part of the farm's history, permanent reminders of the day a HOA president tried to occupy my property and lost everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Janet Rodriguez. Saw Karen's house sold. Heard she moved to a condo with strict no agriculture rules. Probably for the best. I looked across my thriving farm, rows of vegetables, fruit trees heavy with apples, greenhouse full of herbs and flowers. Karen had tried to destroy this because she thought agriculture threatened suburban property values. Instead, my farm had increased neighborhood desirability. Young families were moving in specifically because they wanted to live near fresh food and open space. Karen's war against agriculture had backfired completely. Her harassment had unified neighbors in support of farming, her occupation had made her a laughingstock, and her legal troubles had forced her to leave the community she tried to control. The harvester rumbled contentedly as I finished my evening field work. Tomorrow I'd plant winter vegetables in the same spot where Karen had chained her golf cart, turning her battlefield into fertile growing space. Some wars are won with weapons. Others are won with vegetables, patience, and letting your enemies destroy themselves through their own extremism. Karen Peterson had chained herself to the wrong fence, picked the wrong fight, and learned too late that farmers are harder to intimidate than suburban HOA boards. The land endures. The harvest continues. And golf carts, apparently, are no match for John Deere harvesters operated by people who understand that good soil beats bad neighbors every time. Standing in my garden at sunset, surrounded by the fruits of honest labor, I raised a beer to Karen's empty house. Her defeat had been as complete as her humiliation, and my farm was stronger because of her failed attack. Sometimes the best revenge is simply growing something beautiful where your enemies tried to plant hatred. The harvest was good. The neighborhood was peaceful. And Karen Peterson was someone else's problem now.